Welcome to the Fall and Rise podcast. Today we are joined by Jamie Potts. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Jamie, and I'm here just to tell you what I've been through and how I've had to sort of overcome all the struggles I've had this past couple years. But yeah, happy to be here.
Can you tell people what this struggle is that you're talking about?
Yeah, no, so July 2023, I was involved in a uh, road traffic accident, which I sustained a TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury. Um, and on the side of the road from the crash, I was put into an induced coma and airlifted to Nottingham Hospital. And I was in the hospital, so I was in a coma for 3 and a bit days, and then hospital for an additional 2-3 weeks. And yeah, sort of there's a lot of struggles that came with that. But finally, it's a long process to come from that. But that sort of I was had sort of bedbound for that whole summer, that whole 2023 summer. To be honest, just sleeping, just recovering, which so sort of missed that summer, which wasn't ideal. But no, so from there I've just been slowly and surely just getting better, doing loads of different rehabs and just sort of focusing on myself, like even just small little goals I can see which are getting better and better. But yeah, so yeah, that's sort of what has happened.
Wow. So when you came out of your coma, what kind of, this sounds like a bad question, but what kind of state were you in? Were you able to sort of function and somewhat go back to normal? What was it like?
Basically, I sort of missed like a week of my life, which I will never get back. So it's like obviously the days in the coma you don't remember, and then as soon as I came out, I don't remember the next 4 days, 5 days, um, and I was just when I was in there, I was sort of just I wasn't really speaking. That those 4 days, I was sort of just sleeping, and I think at one point I was a bit agitated and sort of just not really knowing what was going on. Wasn't one, yeah. And then eventually, I remember I think it was like a week and I think it was 8 days after I arrived into hospital. And the first thing I remember is one of my brothers, my middle brother, in my hospital room, and I sort of conversation with him, slowly but surely. Like I had a sort of, I had like a stutter, quite a lot of pauses, but I was able to conversate after those time, and that's the first thing I remember. Which is which obviously the parents weren't happy about. The first thing I remember is my brother when they've been there for the whole time, and then I don't remember them at all until my brother walks in and I'm speaking to him. But yeah, that's sort of how I remember coming out, and I think it's a weird one because when you're straight out there, obviously you've got so much like drugs in you, you don't really know what's going on. You're sort of just like a bit confused and sort of just trying to figure out. I was right at first. I was trying to figure out what I was actually doing there, and like what has happened to me. Well, I sort of knew what had happened, but I didn't know the injuries or anything I sustained. I was like, I've just woken up and now I'm in a hospital room with feeding tubes down me and stuff like that. I'm like, I need to figure out what's going on now. But yeah, sort of that's really it from how I felt coming out of it, which was it's a weird feeling to have, to be honest.
So you talk of the injuries you sustained. What injuries did you sustain?
Yeah, so I had multiple bleeds to the brain. So it's I had what's called a subdural hematoma, which is sort of like internal bruising of the brain. I then had a like external, just around in between the skull and the brain, just that little bit there. I've had a fractured skull, so my skull opened. And then for a while I had what's called partial facial palsy. So the left side of my face just didn't move, which is quite an interesting feeling when I had this side just not moving at all, and then I'm just yapping from the other side. So I had that, and then a few others, but there was like really like, and I had also like these blood clots which are just scattered around. It's like scattered around your brain like little dots. I can't remember what the actual scientific name is, but that's basically that. I had one of those as well. Other than that, I had a sliced open ear. Other than that, there was no real other injuries to any other part of my body, to be honest, which was quite surprising to everyone, to be honest.
So when you realize obviously what's happening now and you understand your injuries and the extent of what's going on, mentally, where are you at? Because that's quite extreme. 1 minute you're all in a car and next thing you know you're waking up and you've got all this going on. So mentally, where was your head at?
I think I was still probably in that fight or flight situation, like, because I was seeing those 3 days where I was in the coma, I was a bit like just fighting because I didn't know if I was going to survive or not for the first few hours. And then I think I sort of still in that state where I was just trying to figure out what's going on, just building everything up. And it was, couldn't really picture point what my state was like, because I was just all over the place in terms of, well, just worse headache, just sleeping all the time. And I've got physios coming in who are like sort of teaching me to walk again and doing that. So I'm just like got 2 physios either side of me. We're slowly going around, getting my balance back, getting everything back. I've got no appetite. So I'm eating literally nothing. And then just figuring out everything. I think the state I was in was just more confusion, just because like you said, I'm 1 minute I'm in a car, the next minute I'm a week later in a hospital bed, which it's just a bit confusing, to be honest. And yeah, it's just, I think it was more when eventually after like probably a week you're in hospital, and when I was like mentally back in hospital, with everything going on, I finally realised what I was there for. Then everything became clearer and why I was there. And then by the end, I was able to walk out unaided out of the hospital, which was pretty good. Just like felt like I was having a garden when I was walking down the ward with everyone, just with all the nurses and everything clapping. Just like I felt like a champion walking out. But yeah, well, yeah, I think it's just a weird state. I think whenever you're in hospital, you don't really know what is going to happen, and just sort of just trying to figure out what's next, to be honest. And you have all the bad situations running through your head, which, so you just like, for me, I was just like overthinking, just in a circle of, oh, okay, so can I do this? Can I do that? Probably not, probably not, probably not. And like, so I'm just thinking, what am I going to do now when I'm out? Like, is there anything for me to do? By the end of it, the end was just me overthinking. The first was just me trying to figure out what was actually there for, just confusion. Yeah, it's just so there's not really much else that entails in hospital, to be honest. It's just figuring out and then just in that loop of overthinking, to be honest.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, it's a crazy situation. Your mindset, like learning to walk again, and then when you walked out unassisted, I bet that was a big like mental jump for you. I bet it was a big like achievement as well.
yeah, no, it was a big one. Like, so what I've noticed now is like at the start, my recovery was, I skyrocketed straight away. So I was able to serve like every week, just like a massive milestone. So 1 week was, well, I'm up and I'm talking. The next one is I'm able to stand up. The next one is able to walk unaided out of the hospital. And then from there, so I'm going like that, and then helping on my balance. And then eventually, when you reach like a stage where I'm able to, so I think by about October, I finally got back to, I able to do a little bit of jogs just to try and get something, which so unfit. It was crazy. I couldn't do like, went to the rugby club, went from like the try line to 22 and back, and that was me. I was panting hard, but I think, and then when you reach that stage, you sort of just plateau and you don't really see much improvement. So you get quite annoyed at yourself, which is what, especially at schools, A-level year, finally with all the exams, I had to drop down to 2 A-levels just so I could have more free periods. So I could either, at the start, I could either sleep or I can go do extra fitness with like a physio or something so they can help me get back into it, or I've got time to actually slowly do more work because it just took me so much more time just because like everything was just, for me, I was just a lot slower with everything and concentration wasn't ideal. So eventually you just got to, in those little things, you got to just, I was finding just like little goals that I was trying to reach. Then when I reached that, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm clearly improving again. So I set myself like another little goal to get to that, just because you like when you're in that state of plateauing, when your recovery just it's so demoralizing. You just don't know what, like, well, I don't know what's going to happen now. So then I had like a neuropsychologist helping me, and she gave me the tip of just set myself small little goals, because then if you have small goals, you have something to work towards, and eventually I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. I've clearly actually got better because I've reached it. And we're going to just keep on going and trying to find more and more goals. Like I'm doing that still now, but now I'm just trying to do more outrageous goals, which I need to actually properly work for. But yeah, I think that's sort of how everything sort of planned out, was from hospital to now is all like sort of my goal setting and just slowly going up, which I think you probably both have, where you're trying to find something that you need to try
Yeah.
reach. You can, once you've got there, you're like, okay, I've done it, but now you go one step bigger, which is always a big thing. But yeah, but
Yeah, absolutely. Did the like sense of achievement once you hit those little goals and kept going for those goals, did that help you get through the plateaus?
yeah, 100%. Like I think it's sort of like you need positivity in that stint where there's nothing. So you need to find something to boost you and give. Well, it's actually just give you something, because I didn't have much motivation at the time, because wasn't allowed to play rugby again, ever again, and that was the big one, because I was trying to play rugby. Went to a school to purely play rugby, and I just couldn't play that. So to find motivation to try train for something, or even just or work for something that is not to do with that's not sport related, is definitely a tough thing, because sort of one, just this biggest thing in your life has just been grabbed away from you. So I had to find something, as small as it is, just like you're like, for me, it was like, oh, I was able to work for 45 minutes straight. And that was like a big goal of mine, because I just couldn't do that. But then I was able to actually do it with no distractions. I was able to say, okay, I've done that. And I was like, really, that was something that I was really proud of, which I wouldn't think I'd be like that, like the year before. Like, why am I getting gassed out of about doing 45 minutes of work? But with those sort of, when those things change, you need to find something. And yeah, like I was saying, those goals sort of got me through the first, from I'd say September till January, February. Those big goals actually, those small goals reached my big goal, which is able to sit at least some of my A level exams, which eventually I did. But yeah, I think it's just the goal setting got me through it all. But yeah.
So, I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. That's, like, it's kind of incredible that you went from having obviously went through that to still breaking things down, still persevering and doing your A levels and setting these goals. What did you say to yourself mentally when you had moments inevitably where things aren't going to plan? Maybe it's your progress is plateauing and you're going for a rocky patch, but what did you do or say to keep going through that?
I think a lot of it will obviously have like, I'm not going to say, oh no, everything was fine. I always had loads of motivation to find something. There was obviously loads of days where I just felt like, this is what's the point? I'm just not. It's had like multiple days, and then I'm just like, it's just nothing's working for me. But then eventually, luckily for me, while I was at school, I had people around me who were still trying to help me as well, and they were giving me motivation at the time, and just the peers around just sort of boosted me back up, because they'll see when I'm down or something. I'm like, what's I was like, well, just nothing's happening. I'm literally being the same, and I'm not feeling great. I've gone back to having to need like an hour, 2 hour nap a day, which I'm finally able to get out of that and not need a nap. But then I've gone back and got to it, and then It's like now I realise actually some days you do need that. You need to go back and just reset everything and just have a day where you just look. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can just sleep. Doesn't matter. Just reset your systems, and then you go back at it the next day. And then eventually, I think that's what it was. It just peers helping me speaking about it, and then eventually, like you get to the realization that actually you just need those days just to settle, and then you just find another goal which you've figured out, and then that's really it. Just get that. Eventually, after a while, you'll find something that you've got to work for, and then you've got that's what. And then give it like a big time frame to actually figure it out, because if it's like a week one, you'll only be motivated for that week. So I had to do like a one where it's going to be at least a month, 2 months. So I've got that guaranteed that I'll be working for that. And during that period, you'll normally end up finding something else. Then you go build and build and build, or something will come up that will be like, oh, okay, there we go, I've got to work for that. So that's sort of what happened when you're in those slums, like at the start when I'm just like really bad, it was peers, and then eventually when I'm in another slump, I was finally able to figure out that I do actually need those days of just doing nothing, which is like it's probably the same as both of you, where like if you're training, eventually like pushing yourself so hard, you just need to just give you some like just clock off and just do nothing, and just sit in your bed and I don't know, eat rubbish and just watch a film or something.
I suppose it's always best to be consistently good over inconsistently great. But leading on to being great, so when you broke down your goals and you recovered, after that you went on to do something quite incredible. You did a trek to a mountain. Do you want to? And you also did it for charity. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no. So it was sort of like I think it was quite a weird situation. What happened was, so the air ambulance took me. So I got taken in an air ambulance to Queen Medical Centre in Nottingham, and so my dad, while we were in hospital, by chance they were just there. So we signed up, said yeah, we'll support it. Emails came through. Then there was an email that came through. Oh, we're running you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro? And then so Dad messaged me saying, do you fancy it? This is in January when it's about 5 months after the crash, and he goes, yeah, do you fancy it? It's in September next year. It would be a year, and it'd be 14 months after your incident. Do you reckon you could do it? And then I think while we're there, we thought, oh yeah, definitely. But I think if we look back at it, I certainly wasn't ready for that back then. But that gave me like a huge fitness goal to be able just to walk 6,000 meters in altitude elevation over. It was 5 nights on the mountain, 6 days of walking. But yes, no. So we did it for the Links and Knots Air Ambulance, and our initial goal was just to raise £10,000. We crushed that in a day, and by the end of it, just before we left, we managed to reach £20,000. And then when we came back and said that, oh, we've done it, everyone else who hasn't donated just wanted proof. Here you go. Let's open your wallets and donate some more money. We ended up on pretty much 25,000 which was pretty good by me and Dad. But yeah, that was extraordinary. Just like I think that helped us as well. Just seeing that many people donate, and the messages we got to support us at the before and then after was just incredible. And that's all. And I'm trying to find another big event to have, which I'm going to try to do again, just like Mount Kilimanjaro, but hopefully go one better. I don't know what to do yet, but that's certainly something that I'm trying to look for to go one above. But I don't know if I can top that one, especially with the money you raised either. But yeah, no. So that was incredible.
So obviously you went through a long period of time of consistently ups and downs and trying to build forward. Then you had this massive moment where you achieved something amazing personally, big milestone in your fitness, to be able to do that and recovery, also raising a load of money for the charity. How could you describe how you felt, after you'd done that?
It was just got to the top. At first, it's just relief. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. That was awful. Like walking up that night, going up to summit for sunrise, I'm like, I sort of just like, the first thing was, why do we have to get out that early? Like first, like the sunrise isn't even that good. Let me get back down. I'm so done. But then eventually, once that petaled off, it was just pure euphoria. I was so happy, and then just me and Dad were so happy, and then eventually everything else clocked in, which was why I was there. Then it started like me, and then it started getting a bit. I was like, started getting a bit emotional, but like in a happy, like I've actually done it compared to what I was in full. And then I think it was a bit of, it was sadness, but like sadness because of what I've been through, and then eventually I've reached this goal, and especially doing it with my dad as well, made it so much better. But no, it's just ups and downs when you get to the top. Like, at first I just thought, oh, let me get me off this hill, let me go back down. I'm so done. And then it got pure happiness. Then it went down to sadness. Sort of like how my recovery went. To be honest, it was just like all of a sudden it's going really good. Then I've just like I'm done. But no, so when it's just like I can't really describe it properly how the varied emotions I had on that, because I didn't even know how to feel, how to act, and I was just sort of there, just sort of breathing it in. Like the days before when we're just sitting on the mountain, there was no phone service, nothing. It's just you and there was 4 other people, including my dad, doing the walk with us. And but a lot of the time, so I was the youngest there, but I was only 18. No, I was 17. So I was 17 still. No, that's such a lie. I was 18. And I think everyone else there, the youngest, the other one was 45. So I'd sort of spent a lot of time by myself, just sitting there. And those nights was where I sort of collected all my thoughts of everything that's happened, and made me like realize how I think you need those times where like actually you need to give yourself a bit of positivity. Just because I'm like, well, compared to like I've finally this is big compared to what it normally is. So for that, it was just sort of, I was just feeling, I just sort of, I basically just like just bigging myself up the whole time. I'm like, I've actually done it. And those nights there were just quite, for me, I got quite emotional, just sitting there by myself, just looking. I'm above the clouds. I'm just looking at, there's mountains popping up, there's sunset on, and it's just like, it was unbelievable. Just the feeling you have when you're in that situation. But yeah, that's sort of it. It was just sort of ups and downs as always is with everything. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like those 14 months between the ICU and then summiting Kilimanjaro, you must have, like, it was a long recovery. You must have learned a lot about yourself and a lot about the patience like you needed. Do you still use what you learned now?
I think now it's just sort of I've learned what like the injuries I've sustained and what I need to do to combat it. So that's what I've learned now. And so I've got a lot more know-how on, okay, fine, I'll have some down days where honestly, like I'll just sleep. But then it's also like, especially in that recovery period between like, obviously when I was in ICU to top of Kilimanjaro, it's also just, you just got to push through some of the really bad stuff that happened. And then eventually you'll reach this pinnacle. You reach like the top of the mountain, and then everything becomes. You realize why you've done it all, and that's all you need. You just need one thing where you're like, oh, I've done it. I've reached the top, and then you're done. You're at the top. You've done everything, and then for me, when I came back down, it's now what I've taught me is like you reach that goal. You work for it as hard as you can. You find it, but then you got to find another goal, and you got to one up what you've just done. You need to make yourself that exact same thing, and you just got to feel that again and train for that. So, but yeah, it's just there's so many lessons that I've learned, and well, I've certainly it's maturity as well. I've had to mature a lot, very quick in terms of speaking to doctors, speaking to anyone, everyone, schools, university to explain what's happened, get used to talking about it, which was always a struggle for me at first. And I've learned just how people have their opinions and will like they'll think, oh, you can do it. You've been through it now. Look at you now. You're basically normal. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. But I think for now, it's like I'm now learning just you got to set yourselves boundaries as well. Where like I can't over push myself. I can't try and do something which I know is very much on the edge where, oh, should I actually do it? Then you got to sort of just put your foot down and eventually just say, no, I'm not going to do it. And then you got to explain why. But then you feel like, okay, but if you can't do that, in my head, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. But why is that? Okay, I'm still not 100% on my balance or something like that. I'm like, okay, well, give me 6 months. I'll go and do what I'm not going to do. What I didn't do then, I'll do it now. And because that's one thing I don't want to do. That's what, like, it's just like this, the fear of like FOMO is crazy. So I'm like, right, well, if you're doing it, I will do it eventually. And you just got to give it time. But yeah, there's been a lot of life lessons, which, well, not just for me, I've had to teach others and just tell them about it, which has been awesome as well. Being able to just tell others what's going on and them actually listen to you, because they don't, well, especially our age, I don't know many people that have been through it this young. So they don't really know what's going on. And then I can sort of just tell them, and they're intrigued into what's happening. And I'll explain it like I'm like a teacher, like show them pictures, show them whatever, and they'll listen open-eared and just sit there and I'll just tell them, and it's just so much better for me, just because at the start I had so much, I didn't really talk about it enough, and had so much to say, I just didn't really speak about it, and then now I spoke about it so much, it's like it's become second nature in a way, but yeah, which is really good.
Yeah. What kind of recovery are you doing now? Because I assume you're still like recovering. So what
Yeah.
kind of stuff are you doing at the moment?
So for now, I'm at this place called Firewell, which is all sort of alternative therapies, where, because I'm still suffering a bit from, I'm certainly suffering from fatigue, like anything, and it's obviously mental and physical, both affect me very differently. So I've got that. There's also mental clarity, which is just where I'm just you get confused quite easily, or you're just not speaking as clear sometimes. And then it's also just, for a while my blood circulation was not 100%. Like in extreme weathers, my fingers, my toes wouldn't get enough blood to them. So my fingers, and especially in cold and windy, all of this would just go blue, which just shows there's just no blood going to it. So now what I'm doing now is, the main thing I'm doing is what's called a hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and that's pretty much where you're in like a little chamber, and you've got a mask on, and depending what your pressure is, you've got to build up to it. You breathe in about 90 to 95% of oxygen, and this oxygen will, because I've been in everything that you've been through, all the hospital, the drugs you've had, anything they've sort of made you help be better, you lose all the good cells and like the mitochondria to boost your energy levels and stuff like that. So the oxygen is just boosting that, giving you more mitochondria cells, and just getting that pumping around the body again, just to boost everything. And then I'm also doing what's called a red light therapy, and that sort of is one that actually makes the new cells move and just get that around your body, because it's just sort of the way the rays are working is just getting all your blood now excited and just moving with a lot of energy. So then that's now going around helping the circulation, and especially to your brain as well, which I need. So it's getting all to the brain, and then the nerves, the neurons getting all thicker and sending that all around. Then there's a thing called cryotherapy, and that is where you're in a minus 110 chamber of just pure coldness. You got a hat on, and I'm in there for 3 minutes. You're just sort of just keeping yourself a bit warm, or trying to keep warm, like just keep yourself moving, and that just kills all the bad cells that's still in your body, which could be from anything. Like if you picked up on bad habits, or you've had, or like just like obviously what we've had is just poor, like not enough running or all the medicine we've had on our bodies, that's just getting rid of those. We're just literally just killing them because of how cold, like -10, those cells can't function properly, but the good cells, or the mitochondria that you're building in your hyperbaric oxygen and the red light, is just building that, and they'll stay. So you have more good cells, just less bad cells. There's another thing called compression therapy, which is sort of, that just depends on how I'm feeling during the day. So normally there's something called lymphatic drainage, which, so you've got obviously your lymph nodes, which a lot of them are stuck on just the top of your chest, and that's just, they're ones that just suck all the, they're awful. They're these fatty things, and they suck all the mitochondria out, and they'll suck all your energy. So this will just push all of this around the body, and eventually, with them around the body, they'll eventually dissolve because they're not all stored up here. So I'm doing those 4. So I've been doing those. So I came home. I was been traveling, and I've been doing this for on and off for about 3 months now, which just those have just, it like has helped me massively, because I haven't properly done any actual therapies. It's more been me doing it myself, like, oh, I'm going to get fitter, or like I said, I was going to set those little goals. But now it's just these external factors that are coming in, and which are not, this is nothing to do with like NHS, but like we just got so lucky where one of our good friends has opened a business he had what's called like long COVID, which he just had really like fatigue and stuff like that. So I had that, and he's figured all this stuff out and got me in there, and the changes is so much better. Like, I'm a lot more alert. I'm not sleep. I don't need to. I'm not as fatigue doesn't affect me as much. Obviously, it still does, because that would take like 5-10 years to properly go. But fatigue, even like confidence at speaking, because occasionally I'll just sort of like freeze up because I won't be able to find the right words, which is still a problem I've got. It's just like word finding or just having a little stutter. But now I've got more confidence to say, okay, it won't happen. I can now speak freely and finally go. So that's sort of what I'm doing now, and I'm planning that, and I'm planning to that in the future as well. Just keep that going, just keep it ticking over, and I'm sure eventually I might find something else that could help me, which might not even been discovered yet. But because there's so little research on what traumatic brain injuries actually are, and what they are, how they affect people. So in a way, a lot of the people that come in, who have got them now, are sort of like case studies, because everyone's sort of monitoring you and trying to figure out, okay, what's happened, because there's so many varies of what a traumatic brain injury is, and just depends on how other people react. Like for me, I was one of the lucky ones where I didn't have much to get better. Well, not to get better, but I didn't have any of the super bad. But I was only in hospital for 3.5 weeks, where I could have been there for 3 months. But I think it's just so much research going on now. You don't really know what is going to happen in terms of new therapies or rehab that I'm going to need to do, because I'm going to go to a new environment next year at uni, which I'm yet to experience, and I don't know what struggles I'm going to have while I'm in that scenario. So that's going to be a new one for me to actually overcome and find, because there'll definitely be new struggles. I'm like, oh, didn't think about that, didn't think about this. So then eventually I'll have to get help. Well, probably I'm guessing I'll have to have help with something else, because, well, like I've said, it's just new struggles which I just never knew I had, to be honest. But yeah.
So you seem to have your physical recovery and rehabilitation pretty locked in. What do you do to keep your mind in the right space?
I think it's still just setting those little goals. Like for now, I've signed up for a few things, like I've signed up to do like a half marathon. A few of those are like, hey, well, I've got that to work for. I've got other things to work for. I've got work that I can do. And I think it's also just for me now is being able to properly go and actually socialize. without, because like sometimes I'd like before I could socialize, I could be out and say we went to, I don't know, we go to like we'd be out for like 4 hours, but after that 4 hours people were like, well, let's go for dinner. So I'm like, I'm done, I need to go to bed. I'm that 4 hours of we could have just been watching something, but with all the like there's so many conversations to focus on, and just everything that was going on, all the other stimulations that are going on, is a bit too much for me to properly comprehend and get together. But now, luckily, that's improved, so I can now actually go out and do everything normally. Which like sort of that's the big one, is just feeling like you're back to normality again, which is a weird one to have. So I think just going, seeing friends, still setting my goals, and just you've got to just find little things to just stay positive with, because even though I feel like I'm back to normal, I know that I'm not. And it's eventually when I find that thing which is like, oh, what's gone on now, I can't just go straight back down to, I was like, oh, I'm clearly not getting better. It's more, I've got to remember what I've been through already. I'm like, okay, I clearly am. Let's get over it. Let's find something and just keep it going. I just need to get that in my head just to keep that positive going. And then once you've got that, and a good friend who will help, like they'll see you, they'll know what's happened, they'll see you're changing in a bad way, which means like, oh, why are you sleeping so much, or why are you now in a lot more of a bad mood, or it'd be like, oh, what's happened to you? You're like a different person in a good way. Like I'm a lot more energetic, a lot more talkative, everything like that. So for that, so at the moment I'm just like kept good peers around me, still setting the goals, and just keeping my head trying to stay positive for 24/7. If there is anything that I come across that stumps me, which luckily in a while has not happened, but I am waiting for that to hit me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an amazing story. It's really inspiring. We've got 3 questions that we ask all our listeners, Jamie. So our first question is, who inspired you?
See, for me, it was more. For me, it wasn't like an inspirational. There wasn't like a single person who inspired me. I wanted to prove people wrong. That was sort of what I wanted. I wanted to show that I can very quickly get better. I didn't want to be one that is stuck behind someone. I just wanted to be that person who eventually I've got the quickest recovery in ever. I wanted to be one of those people who just like eventually I'm just going up and up. So I just sort of just pushing myself and just proving people wrong. So at first last year, the big one for me at school was we had what's called it's called the Wilson Run. So it's a 11-mile run across all the fells around our school. And at first that was my goal at the start, but there's a lot of people saying, I'm not even running yet. How are you going to be able to do that? And I was like, watch me. That's all it is just watch me. And that's my inspiration, is just basically saying, watch me, and I'll prove it to you. And that was it. That's what got me through that was my biggest inspiration.
Yeah, that's epic. Our next question is, if your younger self could see you now, what would they say?
See, if they understood what happened at that one of my youngest, I think they'd be shocked. They were like, okay, I'm very different to what I was. Well, let's go 18 months ago, and they're like, it's nuts. Like, there's no way I thought you'd be able to do that. I'd say even my 17-year-old self would not believe what I am now, let alone my younger self. And I think younger self, if they knew what was going through, I'm hoping they'd be like, okay, I've turned out to be pretty good. To be honest, like he's turned out well, which I'm quite happy at. Like when I think about it now, when someone asks me like that, I'm like, okay, actually, I think my younger self would actually be quite proud of what I've had to do and what I've done to overcome stuff. And now like the big milestones that what I've done, like been to the Reef of Africa. I've done a lot of other, not as big as that, but just like little milestones, which are like, oh, I didn't even think I could be able to do that when I was younger. But yeah, I think my youngest I would be, hopefully, I'm saying would be quite proud of what I've managed to do up to now.
Yeah, definitely. Although your younger self probably isn't happy with you about not being able to play rugby.
No, he would not be happy about that. He'd be shooting at my foot for that. But other than that one, I think he'd be okay, because let's just say I wasn't the most best behaved kid when I was younger. So, and I'm slowly by the end I've sort of straightened out. I hope, and they can see that. Okay, I had like a little phase of trying to be cooler than I really am. And I've figured that out now. But yeah, apart from the rugby, which I don't know how much my younger self would be able to get over that, to be honest. But I think eventually he'll be like, okay, that's fine. But yeah.
And the final question we have for you: what's your message to anyone who's listening?
I think it's just you gotta. Oh, brilliant! Wi-Fi's just gone. I was just about to drop the absolute bomb. Oh, I'm back. I think for me, the biggest thing I'd say is just stay positive and just set those goals, because there may be tough times, but if you've got something that you want to work for, then that's all you need, and it doesn't bother about anyone else. Yeah, if you have that one goal which you're set on and you're ready to go, you set your eyes on that, you stay positive, and you just push for that. Doesn't matter about anyone else. You go for that, and once you reach that goal, just the feeling you get when you've got it you can't beat it.